All right. Check to make sure the streaming is working properly. Oops. Hold on a second. Whoops, it's frozen. Ooh. There we go. Maybe it is working properly. Okay, it's working. All right. Let's go. Today is Ekadashi. Very special day for chanting extra, which I did. They say samsara vitare uli akile to me avijara pare Majiva Malia say samsara vitare uli akile to me avijara pare I knew Tara Ami Bina Manuara Gaya Chitomara Tomare Loide Ami I knew Tara Ami Bina Jails, Joti Maya, Natsipa, Lucky, Adinam, Mantra, Loud to me, Maki, NJ, Joti Maya, Natsipa, Lucky. Chitra Loilo Magia Jiv Jago Gorachana Bhule Kanishra Amaya Lisa Chiracole Jiv Jago Gorachana Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Pada, Prabhupada, 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 Jago, Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paramahansa Ostutera Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chandana Bhaktivedanta Goswami Marshalla Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila say, oh, Sri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shivai, the Gadadha, Shivasvi Gaur, Bhaktivinoda Gijay, Shri Radha Krishna, Gopi Gopinath, Swami Kunda, Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan Kijay, Vrindavan Kijay, Maturadama Kijay, Jagannath Swami Kijay, Munamai Kijay, Shrimati Lasi Devi Kijay, Samaveda Bhakta, Vrinda Kijay, Gaur, Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharani Devashesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Teja Tarani. So, let me read the translation. Lord Gaurachandra is calling, wake up sleeping soul, wake up sleeping soul. How long will you sleep in the lap of the witch called Maya? You've forgotten the way of devotional service and are lost in the cycle of birth and death. I have descended just to save you. I am your only true friend. Other than me, what friend do you have? I have brought the medicine that will wipe out the disease of illusion from which you suffer. Take this great chant for deliverance, Mahamantra, the names of Hari. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, falling at the Lord's lotus feet, takes shelter of the Harinam mantra, the Lord's holy names. Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. So, anyway, thank you all for your kind wishes on my appearance day. And I understand that in New Zealand and Australia, you're going to be celebrating, in some places, you're going to be celebrating this evening. So, wish I was there with you. And with the Sydney program, because it's going to be at a time that I can make, I'll be attending for a little while. Anyway, that'll be this evening. So anyway, that this evening for me, but this evening for those people who Sydney, Australia. And then for those people who live in North Carolina, I will be celebrating, or the celebration will be on Saturday at 11 a.m. Okay, that's auspicious. So let's go on to the Krishna book, and which is even more auspicious. So Om Gana Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So let us share the screen. Hold on a second. There we go. Let me find the screen. It's there somewhere. Oh. Let's see. Yeah. Give me 1 second. Of course, this is about Uddhava conveying the message of Krishna to the Gopis. Uddhava was sent to console the Gopis and the other residents of Vrindavan. Here we go. Let's. All right. Krishna book. Let's get this set up. There we go. So all these different ways of determining the ultimate goal of life are compared to rivers, and Krishna is compared to the ocean. Now, previously, Prabhupada was talking about Sankhya yoga and other types of yoga. So that's what's being described here. Krishna is compared to the ocean. As the rivers flow down toward the ocean, all attempts for knowledge flow toward Krishna. After many, many births of endeavor, when one actually comes to Krishna, he attains the perfectional stage. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Klesho dikataras tesham avyakta sanktachetasam, Bhagavad Gita 12:5. All are pursuing the path of realizing me, but those who have adopted courses without any bhakti find their endeavor very troublesome. Krishna cannot be understood unless one comes to the point of bhakti. So in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, there's a question that Arjuna raises, which is considered better, those who manifest or meditate on the unmanifest form, or those who manifest or meditate on the manifest form. And Krishna answers it. He says, much better are those who meditate on the manifest personal form. 3 paths are enunciated in the Bhagavad Gita: Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. And as part of Jnana Yoga, there's also Sankhya Yoga. But I guess Sankhya Yoga is really a part of Jnana. Sankhya means to count or to analyze. Those who are too much addicted to fruitive activities are advised to perform actions which will bring them to bhakti. In other words, preliminary activities. Those who are addicted to the pursuit of empiric philosophy, that means philosophy that just deals with things that you can perceive, or you can perceive with your scientific instruments. In other words, if you don't see it, it doesn't exist, according to them, are also advised to act in such a way that they will realize bhakti. Karma yoga is therefore different from ordinary karma, and jnana yoga is different from ordinary jnana. Ultimately, as stated by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti-mama Vijamati, that's 1855 in the Gita, only through execution of devotional service can one understand Krishna. The perfectional stage of devotional service was achieved by the Gopis because they did not care to know anything but Krishna. It is confirmed in the Vedas, Kasmenu Bhagavo Vigyate Sarvamidam Vigatam Bhavati. This means that simply by knowing Krishna, one automatically acquires all other knowledge. Doesn't necessarily mean that one knows how to fix cars or anything like that, but because you know the telios, or the purpose of everything, you actually know everything. Really, that's the point. And you know how to utilize everything, though you know the purpose, you know how to use it in Krishna's service. So that meant, and also you know that everything comes from Krishna. Uddhava continued reading Krishna's message. Transcendental knowledge of the absolute is no longer necessary for you. You were accustomed to loving me from the very beginning of your lives. Knowledge of the absolute truth is specifically required for persons who want liberation from material existence, but one who has attained love for Krishna is already on the platform of liberation. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, anyone engaged in unalloyed devotional service is to be considered situated on the transcendental platform of liberation. The gopis did not actually feel any pangs of material existence, but they felt the separation of Krishna. Well, the internet gets stabilized. Krishna therefore said, "My dear gopis, to increase your super excellent love for me, I have purposefully separated myself from you so that you may be in constant meditation on me." That's, of course, the mood of vipralamba, separation. So Krishna has purposely left Vrindavan for the benefit of the gopis. You may say, what is that benefit? Well, the benefit is that they will meditate upon him even more intensely and therefore be connected to him even more intensely. The gopis are in the perfectional stage of meditation. Let me just make it a little louder for you. The gopis are in the perfectional stage of meditation. Yogis are generally more fond of meditating than of executing devotional service to the Lord, but they do not know that the perfection of the yoga system is the attainment of devotion. This constant meditation on Krishna by the gopis is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita to be the topmost yoga. That's 647 in the Gita. Yoginam api sarvesham adgaten antaratmanam shadavam bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. Where Krishna says, of all yogis, he who is meditating on me is the topmost yogi. Krishna knew very well the psychology of women. When a woman's beloved is away, she thinks of him more in meditation than when he is present before her. Krishna wanted to teach through the behavior of the gopis that one who is constantly entranced like the gopis surely attains his lotus feet. Lord Chaitanya taught people in general the method of Vipralamba Seva, which is the method of rendering service unto the Supreme Personality of God in the feeling of separation. The 6 Goswamis also taught worship of Krishna and the feeling of the gopis in separation. The prayers composed by Srinivas Acharya about the Goswamis explain these matters very clearly. Srinivas Acharya said that the Goswamis were always absorbed in the ocean of transcendental feelings in the mood of the gopis. When they lived in Vrindavan, they were searching for Krishna, crying, "Where are you, Krishna? Oh, gopis, where are you? Where are you, Srimati Radharani?" They never said, "We have now seen Radha and Krishna, and therefore our mission is fulfilled." Their mission remained always unfulfilled. They never met Radha and Krishna. Now, we talked about this before. Hey, Radhe, Bhajadevake, Hey, Nanda Shinokuta. They were, "Where, Krishna, where are you? Hey, Radhe, Rajadevake," the goddess of Vrindavan. Hey, Nanda Shuno Kuta, Nanda Maharaj's son. Kuta, where are you? In this way, they were running around Vrindavan. Of course, once in a while, they got a little glimpse of Krishna. I'm even Madhavendra Puri. We mentioned this before. Krishna came and brought him some condensed milk. And then Krishna disappeared. and also Krishna Radharani brought Rupa Goswami some ingredients so that he could cook some condensed milk for his brother Sanatana Goswami. But Rupa Goswami did not recognize her at that time. Krishna reminded the gopis that at the time of the rasa dance, those gopis who could not join him for the rasa lila gave up their bodies simply by thinking of him. Absorption in Krishna consciousness by feeling of separation is thus the quickest method for attainment at the lotus feet of Krishna. By the personal statement of Krishna, the gopis were convinced about the strength of feelings of separation. They were actually experiencing the supernatural method of Krishna worship and were much relieved by understanding that Krishna was not away from them, but always with them. The gopis therefore received Uddhava very happily and began to speak as follows. We have heard that King Kamsa, who was always a source of trouble for the Yadu dynasty, has now been killed. This is good news for us. We hope, therefore, that the members of the Yadu dynasty are very happy in the association of Krishna, who can fulfill all the desires of his devotees. My dear Uddhava, kindly let us know whether Krishna sometimes thinks of us while in the midst of the highly enlightened society girls in Mathura. We know that women and girls in Mathura are not village women. They're enlightened and beautiful. Their bashful, smiling glances and other feminine features must be very pleasing to Krishna. We know very well that Krishna is always fond of the behavior of beautiful women. It seems, therefore, that he has been entrapped by the women of Mathura. My dear Uddhava, will you kindly let us know if Krishna sometimes remembers us while in the midst of other women? Another gopi inquired, does he remember that night in the midst of the kumuda flowers at moonlight when Vrindavan became exceedingly beautiful? Krishna was dancing with us, and the atmosphere was surcharged with the sound of footbells. We exchanged pleasing conversation then. Does he remember that particular night? We remember that night, and we feel separation. Separation from Krishna makes us agitated as if there were fire in our bodies. Does he propose to come back to Vrindavan to extinguish that fire, just as a cloud appears in the sky to extinguish a forest fire by its downpour? Another gopi said, Krishna has killed his enemy and he has victoriously achieved the kingdom of Kamsa. Maybe he is married with the king's daughter by this time and living happily among his kinsmen and friends. Therefore, why should he come to this village of Vrindavan? Another gopi said, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, the husband of the goddess of fortune, and he is self-sufficient. He has no business either with us, the girls in the Vrindavan forest, or with the city girls in Mathura. He is the great super soul. He has nothing to do with any of us, either here or there. Another gopi said, it is an unreasonable hope for us to expect Krishna to come back to Vrindavan. We should try instead to be happy in disappointment. Even Pingala, the great prostitute, said that disappointment is the greatest pleasure. We all know these things, but it is very difficult for us to give up the expectation of Krishna's coming back. Who can forget a solitary conversation with Krishna, on whose chest the goddess of fortune always remains in spite of Krishna's not desiring her? My dear Uddhava, Vrindavan is the land of rivers, forests, and cows. Here the vibration of the flute was heard, and Krishna, along with his elder brother Sri Balaram, enjoyed the atmosphere in our company. Thus, the environment of Vrindavan constantly reminds us of Krishna and Balaram. On the land of Vrindavan, the goddess of fortune, and because of such signs, we cannot forget Krishna. The gopis further expressed that Vrindavan was still full of all opulence and good fortune, and there was no scarcity or want in Vrindavan as far as material necessities are concerned. But in spite of such opulence, they could not forget Krishna and Balaram. We constantly remember various attractive features of the beautiful Krishna, his walking, his smiling, his joking words. We have all become lost by the dealings of Krishna, and it is exclaiming, "Dear Lord, dear husband of the goddess of fortune, dear Lord of Vrindavan and deliverer of the distressed devotees, we have now fallen and merged into an ocean of distress. Please, therefore, come back to Vrindavan and deliver us from this pitiable condition." Uddhava minutely studied the transcendental abnormal condition of the gopis and their separation from Krishna, and he thought it wise to repeat again and again all the pastimes they enjoyed with him. Materialistic persons are always burning in a blazing fire of material miseries. The gopis were burning in a transcendental blazing fire due to separation from Krishna. The blazing fire exasperating the gopis, however, is different from the fire association of Krishna, whereas materialistic persons constantly want the advantage of material comforts. It is stated by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that Krishna saved the coward boys from the blazing fire within a second while their eyes were closed. Similarly, Uddhava advised the gopis that they could be saved from the fire of separation by closing their eyes and meditating on the activities of Krishna from the very beginning of their association with him. From the outside, the gopis could visualize all the pastimes of Krishna by hearing the descriptions of Uddhava. And from within, they could remember those pastimes. From the instructions of Uddhava, the gopis could understand that Krishna was not separate from them. As they were constantly thinking of Krishna, Krishna was also thinking of them constantly at Mathura. Uddhava's messages and instructions saved the gopis from immediate death, and the gopis acknowledged the benediction from Uddhava. Uddhava practically acted as the preceptor, spiritual master of the gopis, and in return, they worshipped him as they would worship Krishna. It is recommended in authoritative scriptures that the spiritual master be worshipped on the level of the very confidential servitor, and it is accepted by great authorities that the spiritual master is the external manifestation of Krishna. The gopis were relieved from their transcendental burning condition by realizing that Krishna was with them. Internally, they remembered his association within their hearts, and externally, Uddhava helped them associate with Krishna by his conclusive instructions. Wonderful. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is described in the scriptures as Adhosaja, which indicates that he is beyond the perception of the material senses because he's purely spiritual. Although beyond the material senses, he is present in everyone's heart. At the same time, he is present everywhere by his all-pervasive feature of Brahman. One can realize all three transcendental features of the Absolute Truth, Bhagavan, the Personality of Godhead, Paramatma, the localized Supersoul, and the all-pervasive Brahman, simply by studying the condition of the gopis in their meeting with Uddhava, as described in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is said by Srinivasa that the 6 Goswamis were always merged in thoughts of the activities of the gopis. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also recommended that the gopis' method of worship of the Supreme Personality of God is super excellent. Srila Shukadev Goswami has also recommended that anyone who hears from the right source about the dealings of the gopis with Krishna and who follows the instructions laid down by the previous acharyas will be elevated to the topmost position of devotional service and will be able to give up the lust of material enjoyment. All the gopis were solaced by the instructions of Uddhava, and they requested him to stay in Vrindavan for a few days more. Uddhava agreed to their proposal and stayed with them not only for a few days, but for a few months. Wow. He always kept them engaged in thinking of the transcendental message of Krishna and his pastimes, and the gopis felt as if they were experiencing direct association with Krishna. While Uddhava remained in Vrindavan, the inhabitants enjoyed his association as they discussed the activities of Krishna. The days passed just like moments. Vrindavan's natural atmosphere with the presence of the river Yamuna, its nice orchards of trees decorated with various fruits, Govardhan Hill, caves, blooming flowers, all combined to inspire Uddhava to narrate Krishna's pastimes. The inhabitants enjoyed Uddhava's association in the same way that they enjoyed the association, attracted by the attitude of the gopis, because they were completely attached to Krishna, and he was inspired by the gopis' anxiety for Krishna. He offered them his respectful obeisances and composed songs in praise of their transcendental qualities as follows. So here's a song. Among all the living entities who have accepted the human form of life, the Gopis are super excellently successful in their mission. Their thought is eternally absorbed in the lotus feet of Krishna. Great sages and we ourselves also try to be absorbed in meditation on the lotus feet of Krishna, but the Gopis, having lovingly accepted the Lord, are automatically accustomed to this and do not depend on any yogic practice. The conclusion is that one who has attained the Gopis' condition of life does not have to take birth as Lord Brahma, or to be born in a Brahmin family, or be initiated as a Brahmin. So in other words, the Gopis' position is completely transcendental to Varnashram, obviously. Sri Uddhava confirmed Lord Krishna's statement in the Bhagavad Gita that one who takes shelter of him for the right purpose, be that person a Shudra, woman, or member of the low-grade family, will attain the highest goal of life. The Gopis have set the standard of devotion for the whole world. One who follows in the footsteps of the Gopis by constantly thinking of Krishna can attain the highest perfectional stage of spiritual life. The Gopis were born not of any highly cultured family, but of coward men. Yet they developed the highest love of Krishna, who is the super soul, the supreme personality of Godhead, and the supreme Brahman. For self-realization or God realization, there's no need to take birth in a high family. The only thing needed is development of ecstatic love of God. For achieving perfection in Krishna consciousness, no qualification is required other than to be constantly engaged in the loving service of Krishna, the supreme nectar, the reservoir of all pleasure. The effect of taking up Krishna consciousness is just like that of drinking nectar. With or without one's knowledge, it will act. The active principle of Krishna consciousness will equally manifest itself everywhere. It does not matter how and where one is taken as birth. Krishna will bestow his benediction upon anyone who takes the Krishna consciousness without a doubt. Uddhava continued, the supreme benediction attained by the Gopis, in spite of their being born in the families of coward men, was never attained even by the goddess of fortune herself, and certainly not by the denizens of heaven, though the bodily scent of the women there is exactly like the scent of the lotus. The Gopis are so fortunate that during the Rasa Leela, Krishna personally embraced them with his arms and kissed them face to face. Certainly, it is not possible for any woman in the three worlds to achieve this except the Gopis. Therefore, I wish to take birth as one of the plants or creepers in Vrindavan who are so fortunate that the Gopis trample them. The Gopis have so lovingly served Krishna, Mukunda himself, the giver of liberation, who is searched after by great sages and saintly persons. For his sake, they have left everything, their families, their children, their friends, their homes, and all worldly connections. Uddhava appreciated the exalted position of the Gopis and wished to fall down and take the dust of their feet on his head, yet he dared not ask the Gopis to offer the dust from their feet. Perhaps they would not be agreeable. Therefore, to have his head smeared with the dust of the Gopis' feet without their knowledge, he desired to become only an insignificant clump of grass or herbs in the land of Vrindavan. And there's a place called Uddhava Kund, which we've described before, right next to Giriraj, where Uddhava is worshipped, and they have deities of Radha Uddhava Bihari, and there's an Uddhava Kund there, and it's described that Uddhava appears as the grass in that place. The Gopis were so much attracted, so the Gopis would walk on. The Gopis were so much attracted to Krishna that when they heard the vibration of his flute, they instantly left their homes, families, children, honor and feminine bashfulness, and ran toward the place where Krishna was standing. They did not consider whether they were passing over the road or through the jungles. Imperceptibly, the dust of their feet was bestowed on small grasses and herbs of Vrindavan. Not daring to place the dust of the Gopis' feet on his own head in this life, Uddhava aspired to have a future birth in Vrindavan in the position of a clump of grass or herbs. He would then be able to have the dust of the Gopis' feet. Uddhava appreciated the extraordinary fortune of the Gopis, who were relieved of all material pangs and anxieties by placing on their beautiful high breasts the lotus feet of Krishna, which are worshipped not only by the goddess of fortune, but by such exalted demigods as Brahma and Lord Shiva, and which great yogis meditate upon within their hearts. Thus Uddhava prayed to be constantly honored by the dust from the lotus feet of the gopis, whose chanting of Lord Krishna's transcendental pastimes has become celebrated all over the three worlds. After living in Vrindavan for some time, Uddhava desired to go back to Krishna, and he begged permission to leave from Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. He had a farewell meeting with the gopis, and taking permission from them, he mounted his chariot to start for Mathura. Remember, Mathura and Vrindavan are very close to each other. So, and he didn't go there for months. He remained in Vrindavan for months, and he didn't go back to Mathura for months, because he was so attracted by the gopis' devotion. When Uddhava was about to leave, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, headed by Maharaj Nanda Yashoda, came to bid him goodbye and presented him with various kinds of valuable goods secured in Vrindavan. They expressed their feelings with tears in their eyes due to intense attachment for Krishna. All of them desired a benediction from Uddhava. They desired to always remember the glorious activities of Krishna and wanted their minds to be always fixed upon his lotus feet, their words to be always engaged in glorifying him, and their bodies to be always engaged in bowing down as they constantly remembered him. This prayer of the inhabitants of Vrindavan is the super excellent type of self-realization. The method is very simple: to fix the mind always on the lotus feet of Krishna, to talk always of Krishna without passing on to any other subject matter, and to engage the body in Lord Krishna's service constantly. Especially in this human form of life, one should engage his life, resources, words, and intelligence for the service of the Lord. Only such activities can elevate a human being to the highest stage or highest level of perfection. This is the verdict of all authorities. The inhabitants of Vrindavan said, "By the will of the supreme authority and according to the results of our own work, we may take our birth anywhere. It doesn't matter where we are born, but our only prayer is that we may be simply engaged in Krishna consciousness. A pure devotee of Lord Krishna never desires to be promoted to the heavenly planets or even to Vaikuntha or Goloka Vrindavan, because he has no desire for his own personal satisfaction. A pure devotee regards heaven and hell to be on an equal level. Without Krishna, heaven is hell, and with Krishna, hell is heaven." When Uddhava had been fully honored and worshipped by the pure devotees of Vrindavan, he returned to Mathura and to his master Krishna. After offering respects by bowing down before Lord Krishna and Balaram, he described the wonderful devotional life of the inhabitants of Vrindavana. Then he presented to Vasudeva, Krishna's father, and Ugrasena, Krishna's grandfather, all the gifts given by the inhabitants of Vrindavana. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 47th chapter of Krishna, entitled Delivery of the Message of Krishna to the Gopis. And anyway, maybe we'll stop here. So we did 47 today, about 47b, because we started it previously. Okay, so let's stop sharing the screen, and then we will allow you to ask questions. You have more time for saying something or asking questions. Let me allow you to unmute yourselves. Okay, so you can type in the chat window, or you can raise your hand. Okay, Rakesh, I figured it was you.
Yes, Gurudev. Please accept my humble obeisances and happy appearance day, Gurudev.
Thank you.
The question is, Gurudev, from yesterday's class. You said that during the annihilation of the universe, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva both get dissolved. I understand Lord Brahma being a Jiva souls get dissolved, but Lord Shiva is also transcendental. His abode is above the material nature. So,
Yes, but Lord Shiva's expansion of dealing in this material world disappears. You understand? So, yeah, Lord Shiva has many expansions, He has Rudra expansions and Shambhu, different types of expansions that are meant for dealing in the material world. When there's no material world, those expansions don't manifest anymore. Although it's interesting, the original source of Lord Shiva is Vishnu Tattva, and then there's also, Shiva Loka. That Vishnu Tattva is called Sada Shiva. And of course, the Dvaitacharya, member of the Panchatattva, is sometimes considered, sometimes he is considered to be an incarnation of Sada Shiva and also Maha Vishnu. So there's a Vishnu Tattva expansion, and from that Vishnu Tattva expansion comes the Shiva that deals with the material world. So you're right. I mean, it doesn't dissolve, the soul doesn't dissolve, but he's no longer manifest in this world. All right?
Thank you, Gurudev.
All right. That's a good question. So now, who else? Oh, here. Here's a typed in question. Let's see. Okay. Mantrini, Devidas. Make sure is there a question before that? Here. Please accept my humble obeisances. We study how the gopis were feeling separation from Krishna, and this is the highest and quickest form of worship. How can we develop the feelings of separation from Krishna? Well, Ayinanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavambudo Kripya Tavapada Pankaja Stita Duli Sadrasam Vachintya. The gopis were manifesting separation from Krishna in the conjugal mood. But we are not aware of what our eternal relationship is with Krishna right now. But we know one thing about that eternal relationship. What is that? We are servants. Whether you're a servant in the spiritual world, whether you are a friend in the spiritual world, whether you're a parent of Krishna in the spiritual world, or whether you're established in conjugal ras, you're a servant of Krishna, because that is your swarup, or part of your swarup. Jivara swarupohoy Nitya Krishna Das. So this particular verse in the Shikshashaka is a verse of separation. Ainanda Tanuja Savananda Maharaj Kinkaram, I am your servant. But what happened? Patitam Mam, my mom, me, Patitam, I fell down. Somehow or other I've fallen. Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavambudo, into this ocean, horrible ocean, actually is the right description, of material suffering. Kripya Tava Padapankaja. But give me the mercy of your lotus feet. Padapankaja Stita. Establish me. Sadrasam Vichintaya. Establish me as one of the particles at your lotus feet. So this is the separation. I mean, I can definitely relate with that. Krishna. But we are thinking that this material world is nice. That's our problem. And so we're not thinking, Krishna, get me the heck out of here. We are thinking, let me enjoy in this world, Krishna. Until you come to the point of understanding this material world really doesn't have any substantial enjoyment. It just doesn't. There's a temporary illusion of enjoyment. You're eating and then finished. What happened with that enjoyment? If the enjoyment was real, it wouldn't be finished at a particular point. You may go do something to enjoy. Let's say you go to an amusement park or go on a roller coaster or whatever. And even if you do have fun, I don't think roller coasters are fun. But even if you do have fun, it's over at a certain point. Then you got to work. I mean, just like if you want to enjoy society, friendship, and love in this material world, you have to work. You got to pay for it. And so most of the time you're paying for it or sleeping because you're too tired from paying for it, and then you get a little time when you get a chance to enjoy. So it's a little enjoyment. And then most of the time, paying for it is sleeping. And you may pay for it by working hard, or pay for it by having some physical difficulties. And so you have to come to the point of understanding this is not your place, this material world. So when you chant in the mood of separation. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, from your heart. That's how we should be chanting, not just Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare. But we should chant separation like that. Krishna, save me. I don't know what I'm doing in this material world. Oh my God. How did I get here, falling down to this place? And as you get older, you realize it more. Take it from me. First-hand experience. The body is actually one of your gurus. That's described in the Bhagavatam. As Avadhuta Brahman considered the body as one of his gurus. So our body and the changes it undergoes and the pain it undergoes, that's one of our gurus. I mean, one of my dear disciples just had a dental surgery, and for that dental surgery, they had so much pain, and she basically for a week she can't do anything. So we take a lesson from that. Yeah, the body's a mean guru. How does it pay you back? With old age. You work for it, you serve it, you feed it for how many years, and then what does it give you? It's like a master that you don't want to serve. You should want to serve Krishna. Anyway, so therefore one has to have this intensity. Anyway, that's what it means to feel separation. Good question. Really good question. So, who else has a question? Raise your hand or type in the text window, or if you're bold, unmute yourselves. No one else has a question, so whoops. Wow, that's a good question. Jagat says, we try to approach Krishna and then get too close and get burned. And we want to run away from Krishna. What causes this cycle? Good question. Give me a second to think about it. What causes this cycle is that Maya has two tendencies, throwing and keeping. And she throws us in Maya. We're already in Maya. And then keeping, we want to get out of Maya or stay out of Maya. And she preaches to us like that. And so we have some experiences in this world that even in the association of devotees that are sometimes unpleasant. And these experiences are tests tests. In other words, helping us refine our consciousness, helping us see, giving us insight into how we have these impurities in our heart. And so right now, we may be thinking, I've realized Krishna consciousness, I know I'm a coward boy or a gopi in the spiritual world. And then Krishna comes along and boom, he shows us, you ain't on a very high platform. So Krishna's actually revealing gradually like through sometimes through unfortunate circumstances, Krishna reveals gradually how little we are surrendered. Just like when I was recently in the hospital and having, going to have an operation, I was just thinking, I have to think of Krishna now. This is very difficult. I have to think of Krishna, so I did think of Krishna. Of course, at the same time, I had Krishna's devotee with me, Gopal, so he was reminding me of Krishna. So one should always keep in the association of Krishna's devotees, especially when you're going through difficulty or getting ready to leave this world. Association of devotees is essential. Yeah, so these are different aspects of the cycle that you just mentioned, the different aspects of showing us that, bringing us down to earth, is showing us where we're at in Krishna consciousness, really, and making us a little humble. Because humility, dainu, is a price for Krishna consciousness. Abject humility. Just like I'm thinking I'm a sannyasi, I'm better than everybody else. You're all I'm a guru and you're all my disciples. So, that pride is there. No, I don't think I'm not actually thinking like that. I have to be honest. I'm thinking, Krishna, save me from this world. And let me help a few people come in contact with you in the meantime, while you're saving me from this world. So, anyway. Good question, Jagat. So, anybody else have a question? That was a really good question. And one that I should be aware of more often. Okay, Gopal, you have a question. You can unmute yourself.
Thanks so much. So we were just talking about the body being a guru, and even though, of course, it's not a very kind guru in one sense, we are thankful for those things that give us knowledge and realization. So how can we cultivate gratitude towards the body that's causing us suffering, that is reminding us that this is not our place?
Well, the gratitude, not exactly to the body. The body's not a person. Gratitude is towards Krishna, towards giving us the facility to further enhance our Krishna consciousness. So we're grateful that we have the body, especially a human body. We're actually very grateful, because without that, we wouldn't have facility to rectify our consciousness. That's why Maya also means mercy. The mature world is a place of mercy. Just like a prison house, ostensibly, is supposed to be a place where there is rectification, not necessarily punishment for punishment's sake. Although nowadays in certain places, people are punished for the sake of punishment, just to give someone some, let's say, happiness that are making someone else suffer. I mean, that's the nature of the conditioned soul. So the purpose of this body, or the purpose of the material world, is to rectify us. Because without it, without the threefold miseries, we would never basically surrender to Krishna, unless we were very advanced. Just like in the heavenly planets, the threefold miseries are there, but they're very much diminished, minimized. And because of that, there's little impetus to completely surrender to Krishna. There's an impetus to worship Krishna, because they understand Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You do your sacrifice, you do your activities, and you get the result. But there's no impetus. There's no impetus to actually, or very little impetus to surrender to Krishna, because there's no disease, there's no old age, there's no crying babies. That's funny. crying babies. So because when people appear, they're full grown. So anyway, that's the heavenly planet. So what is the impetus? Okay. Oh, Rishikesh, you have a question.
Hare Krishna Gurudev. Happy Wednesday.
Haribo,
Gurudev,
we're miss-
can you hear me?
yeah, we're missing you here in Nugaloka because you're going away for
It was a
the weekend.
wedding day,
Too
that's
bad.
why I had to go. Long time.
Oh, wedding, yeah.
Gurudev, my question is, that you just said the impetus, to surrender to Krishna. Of course, suffering is an impetus to surrender to Krishna, but when you surrender to Krishna, the suffering really does not stop. It continues in spite of the surrender. So what really can be our impetus, because we surrender to Krishna for some relief, but apparently the relief continues. I mean, the body still continues to give trouble regardless.
Yes, that's true. I can vouch for that one. I can
So
vouch for that one.
what's the real impetus?
The
Because there
body
is no
still,
relief,
the
isn't
body
there?
still because surrender to Krishna means to be absorbed in Krishna, and your consciousness is no longer absorbed in the body. The body will still give you trouble. It's not that I surrender to Krishna. Oh, my kidney stone will go away. I don't have a kidney stone because we already got rid of it in operation. But I mean, just taking theoretically, if I surrender to Krishna, my kidney stone will go away. I will get back my youthful energy. No, my hair will turn black again. Sometimes I look at the pictures of myself, and not that I always look at pictures of myself, but somehow or other someone posts a picture of me at Govardhan 5 years ago, and I said, yeah, I looked a lot better then, a lot younger then, and look at me now. I'm looking at myself on the TV screen right now, or the computer monitor right now, and thinking, oh my God, he's really aged. So. It depends on what my consciousness is absorbed in. So surrender to Krishna means to be absorbed in Krishna and Krishna's service. And therefore, because the consciousness becomes refocused, the miseries become diminished. That's really the reason. If you refocus the consciousness, I mean, even in the material world, someone is able, let's say an expert hypnotist using hypnotism, is able to hypnotize someone so that they can undergo an operation without anesthesia and not feel pain. I mean, it's been shown to work because they're refocusing the consciousness. So if we refocus our consciousness, like you see Prabhupada. Prabhupada, at one point, there's a story that Prabhupada was having a spinal tap. And from what I understand, that's extremely, painful, devastating in many different ways. When they take a little spinal fluid out, whew, and devotees, and Prabhupada wasn't grimacing or wincing or anything like that. And devotees asked Prabhupada, does it hurt? And Prabhupada said, we tolerate. And Prabhupada's completely Krishna conscious. And if you look at Prabhupada's final days in this world, where he was dictating the final Bhaktivedanta purports on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada was completely clear-headed. I mean, any of us, if we were put in such a situation where basically we were just skin and bones, which is what Prabhupada's body was at that point, there's no question that we'd be remembering anything. I mean, anybody who's experienced anything like extreme pain, I mean, of course we chant Hare Krishna. When I was having my pain from the kidney stone originally, I was up all night long. I was chanting Hare Krishna. But, I couldn't imagine picking up a book and reading it at that particular juncture. I couldn't imagine.
It's a challenge when the pain is there to remember Krishna at the same time. I mean, unless I'm really advanced,
Yes.
That's the thing.
It's a challenge, but it makes us stronger. So at the time of death, we can deal with it. hopefully.
Okay.
But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, as they say.
Uh-huh.
So it's a challenge. It definitely is a challenge. I mean, I experienced that when I was having my kidney stone pain, and it was intense. The doctors say it's like a lady giving birth, and I can
Oh,
say
yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like that.
Yes.
And definitely, but I chanted and everything like that. I mean, and then I didn't feel so much pain when I was walking around and chanting. When I tried to sleep, that was when the pain came. But I was just pacing up and down. I must have walked several miles in my house. So, okay,
Thank you,
let's
Krishna.
see. There was, not fully surrendering. Actually, there's two more things. Hare Krishna Maharaj. So, in challenging situations, just asking for Krishna to give us intelligence and conviction to tolerate the situation will be the same as surrendering unto Him, although we are asked still as originally and not just fully surrendering. I think we ask for Krishna to allow our consciousness to be on Him. And if our consciousness is on Him, His pastimes, or at least His service, then at that particular time, then we'll be able to tolerate more. It's not that we just, yeah, I guess it's like strength and conviction. It's not just strength and conviction, it's just the consciousness has to be refocused. I mean, that's the whole point, because there are going to be these miseries from the body and the mind, other living entities, and the material energy in general. Uh, I've heard, let's see, Japataka Maharaj say that after accepting Krishna, our Narta Nivritti process starts, yes. Doesn't it mean that Krishna gives us a little trouble to make us free from our karmic reaction as soon as possible? Well, he gives a token reaction so that we can live happily later with unalloyed devotional service serving Shri Shri Radha Krishna. Yes, Krishna may give us a token reaction instead of like the full atomic bomb. Yeah, it may happen like that, but basically, yes, as soon as we start chanting Hare Krishna, Anartha Nivritti starts, as long as we're trying to get rid of the Anarthas. We may be accumulating more Anarthas too, if we're committing offenses of the holy name of the Lord. Like if you're performing sinful activities, the seventh offense against chanting, then you may be accumulating Anarthas. So, good question. These are really good questions. Thank you. I enjoy these good questions that cause me to think more. It's a really peaceful way to spend my appearance day. So, thank you very much for asking these nice questions. And tomorrow we'll probably be speaking about Raghunath Das Goswami, whose disappearance day it is. And yes, that's it. Thank you very much. All glories to His divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.